Anne McCue, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So, how strict have the isolation rules been in Nashville, and how have you been coping with the year?
Well, we had a tornado in March 3rd,
Wow.
which shut everything down. The whole of Five Points, which is a few miles from here, was destroyed. And a lot of the music venues, the music stores, people's houses, all the restaurants were totally destroyed. And so that shut everything down March 3rd. And then a week later, well, there was no power for a week. A week later, one of the venues actually opened. It got power back, and I played a show there that day, and then it closed the next day due to the COVID-19. So we've been shut down since then, probably March 10th. It's been, I've been isolating mostly since then. There's been no gigs. And rarely go out just to get food, like hunting and gathering, And so it's been like that since then. What's the date? August 19th. So unfortunately, a lot of people in town didn't do that. And we have like 26,000 cases in Nashville of COVID-19.
Right.
Just in this city. And it's a small city. It's like 500,000 people. It's not a big city. So all the more reason to stay home because of those people who are still going out and passing it around, basically. But I've actually found it a nice break to be still, and it was really wonderful the first couple of months. It was so quiet everywhere. There were no cars on the road. And all the animals, we have deer come out, and all the animals were coming out and just sort of hanging around, and it was so quiet and beautiful, and everyone was walking around, people walking in the streets just instead of driving. And so that was really beautiful. I loved it, and it made me really think about my life and what I've been doing the last few years, and how I haven't really been focusing on my own music as much as I'd like to, and all the other projects that I've started. And so I've just been trying to get some projects finished while I've been here.
Yeah. I noticed you've been doing a lot of live streams to different parts of the world at different times of the day. Have you found that experience?
I like it. It's very relaxed. I'm a lot less stressed by the time I play, mostly because I'm just at home. I haven't driven for 10 hours or whatever it is I've just done usually before I play a show. I'm just at home and it's relaxed. I can just sort of work out I've had people requesting songs, so I've been playing a lot of my old songs that I haven't played for years, or if I've ever played them live. And that's been really interesting for me. It's been nice to connect with people from all over the world, and I'm doing one next week it's going to be through a venue in London. So it's very hard to do a European friendly time that works, and so this is going to be really good next week. And yeah, I've been doing a lot of recording and making some videos and stuff like that.
Yeah. Just going back, I'm not sure how long ago you relocated to America now, but when you did, was there a plan, and were there people that helped you out and get settled in the music scene there?
Yeah, it was funny the way it worked. I'd lived in Vietnam, and I came back from there to Melbourne, and I was really, broke and unemployed and had nothing going on. And I was walking down the street, and this friend of mine, Evan Kelly, I ran into him, and he said there was a band looking for a female guitar player who could sing backing vocals. And so I joined that band, and that's how I got to America. They brought us over to Los Angeles, and we recorded an album. So this is like 1998. And we recorded an album, and then it got signed to Columbia Records. And so we were here for like a couple of years in Los Angeles, this was, waiting for the record to come out. And it never actually did. But meantime, I just started going to the open mics in Los Angeles and meeting people and playing my own songs. And I loved Los Angeles. I never would have in a million years wanted to go there. Like, it was never in my list of things I was going to do with my life. And I ended up loving it there. It's actually one of my favorite places I've ever lived. It was a very good scene right then. I was lucky I kind of fell into the Americana music scene in that town. Lucinda Williams was there and all these other people, and we used to play every Wednesday night at a pub, and everyone would get up and play with each other. So that was a really great thing. And then so yeah, I've been here over 20 years, probably 22 years, and lived in LA for 8 years and then moved out to Nashville.
Yeah. Well, what are the pros of living in Nashville?
Well, I miss the ocean a lot, so that is not a pro. It's a beautiful part of the world, very green, lots of trees. Where I live, there's so many trees. It's a beautiful place to walk around. So it's not arid, as Los Angeles was fairly arid. It's the music community is really amazing. Everyone here is a musician. Just about everybody you meet is, even the person at the petrol station, waitresses, even people at the bank, whoever, they all came here to be musicians. And so you're not like an outsider in society. It's one of those towns where being a musician is accepted and it's an honorable profession, seen as an honorable profession. Whereas, in a lot of towns, you're living on the outskirts and the edge of society when you're a musician.
Your last album, Blue Sky Thinkin, had a jazz swing vibe to it. I think that was around about 5 years ago you released that.
Yeah.
So where are you at with a new one?
Well, I've gone off on a different track. It's more like a 1967 London psychedelic pop record. And I've released a single called Sister of the Mainline. I released that on 45 vinyl out here. I haven't really released it in Australia yet. But that was my plan, and it's just taken me so long to do it, to record it. I don't know why I keep putting it off, but I have recorded parts. I've probably started 7 songs already, and I just haven't finished them. And it's just a matter of, I think it's very hard to record your own album at home, which especially you have to do now at the moment, without a deadline, and no one's saying, where's that album? It's due out on this date. And nobody cares really. So it's just up to me to get it done. And but that's the style of it. So I'm kind of using the extreme panning with the mixes, and just trying to get that kind of sound of like, you might say early Pink Floyd, and even the Beatles, Magical Mystery Tour type recordings, Kinksy kind of recordings. Yeah, but that's definitely the style of it. Yeah. Each album kind of has a different style, because I'm a producer and I'm an engineer, and that's just a part of my creative thing. I'm not just a songwriter who hands it over to someone and says, help me make a record, which might be interesting to do sometime. I don't know. I'm not sure. So never done that.
What gear are you using on this project? What guitars and pedals?
Well, I've got these guitars that were given to me by, this is one here. Just unplug it. It's called a Hanson guitar.
Okay.
And they're made in Chicago. And this is my favorite guitar now. I use this on everything. I've got one that's got P90s. This one's got humbuckers. and it's also got a thingy-majiggy.
Bigsby?
Bigsby. So, which is good. I've always wanted a humbucker guitar with a Bigsby, and that's my main guitar. And I've got my Guild acoustic, which I've had for a couple of years. That's this one. It's very solid and great for recording. I've got that bass over there, Fender P bass that I use, and I've got some drums here, but I usually try and get a real drummer. I don't play drums. And then I've got some other instruments like my lap steel and the banjaroo. That's a 6-string banjo, and my mandolin, which I've just recorded. I'm in a band here called Someday.
Okay.
And we just recorded a song, and everyone's recorded their bits at their house, and I put it all together here. And so I ended up playing some banjaroo and mandolin as well as some slide guitar on it. And so that's going to come out in a couple of weeks.
So what is your studio setup? What interface are you using, and what production software?
It's a pretty simple setup. It's Pro Tools 12, and then I've got the Focusrite. I don't know what, Pro 40 Sapphire. That's my interface. And then I've got the Chandler preamp, the Beatles Abbey Road preamp. And so everything runs through that. That's just got 2 inputs. And so I can actually have about 8 inputs if I want. I've recorded string quartets here using, so I used 5 mics for that, one on each instrument and a room mic. That's probably the most I've done in the house, is 5 mics, but I think I could probably get away with doing 8 if I needed to. I'd love to turn the whole house into a studio, but it's not going to happen.
So where did you pick up your production skills?
I think just by watching people. I was lucky to work with great engineers, starting with Lawrence Maddie back in Australia, in Melbourne. And it's amazing how much you learn just by sitting there while they're doing stuff. Coming over here, I worked with Dusty Wakeman and his Eric Korn, and just watching them use Pro Tools, it all went into my head, so that when I actually got my own Pro Tools set up, I knew how to use it without having to look up too much stuff. It was weird. I just already knew how to use it, so I was quite surprised about that. And then I've got Dusty Wakeman. He's like produced some Lucinda Williams albums and things like that, and Dwight Yoakam stuff engineered on those. So I've got people like him that if I have a question, I can just call them and they give me some advice. And then anything you want to learn, you can learn on YouTube.
You have a radio show called Songs on the Wire.
Yeah.
Growing up, what radio stations did you listen to?
Well, I was very lucky. I regard myself very lucky because of 2 radio stations. The first one was Double J in Sydney. Where are you? Are you in Sydney? Melbourne. Yeah. The first one was Double J, which was like the best radio station that ever existed. In Australia, probably because it was. I don't know when it started. I feel like it was in the 70s. And they just played the most interesting music, It was kind of like Triple R in Melbourne. And Triple R. It's such a great radio station, and PBS, of course. So I had that Double J in Sydney. And that's where you heard all the latest English bands, all the new wave music, everything new that came out, Laurie Anderson, and they'd play Beat Poets and, I don't know, all this stuff that was so interesting. And so that was one station. And then the other one was, I think it was called 2BL. It was one of the ABC radio stations that had a show called Music Till Midnight. And I listened to that every night, 10 till midnight. When I was doing my homework, I didn't have a proper schedule as a child. I was kind of like, had my own schedule. And that was jazz. It was just jazz. And I just listened. I loved it so much. I listened to that every night, Music Till Midnight. So I was lucky to have those two fantastic radio stations as a kid to listen to.
Yeah. So what are your revised plans for 2020?
Well, I really just want to get all my stuff done. I've written a little book. I've started another book, and I've started an album. I've produced an album with Jesse Carell. We finished that about 2 months ago or a month ago. He's not going to release it this year, obviously. It's not really a great time, but that'll come out next year. I'm really thrilled about that album. And then I've got this new band. Well, it's a jam band that we used to play Sundays at a pub here. And then they closed down all the pubs, so we stopped playing. But I had this idea of recording a song, each person, and putting it together while we're waiting to play again. And that's called Sunday Someday. And then I'm also in a Beatles trio. It's an acoustic trio called Apple Scruggs. And it's just upright bass, acoustic guitar, which I play. And then Seth Timms plays mandolin on that. So we're making little videos, each person in their own house, sending the files around. And we're doing that. And I'm also making solo videos here of all my songs and putting one up each week on the interwebs. And and then I'm doing the live shows online every 3 weeks or so. And teaching guitar and ukulele. Obviously, because I have no gigs right now.
Yeah. All right, Anne McCue, it's been great to catch up. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to see you.